MASH*, 1972 to 1983, remains one of television's most beloved and groundbreaking shows, mixing sharp wit with heartfelt emotion during the Korean War setting. Its unforgettable cast brought warmth, humor, and humanity to every episode, making it a timeless classic. But over the decades, some of the talented actors who helped make the show so iconic have sadly passed away. In this video, we pay tribute to those stars, remembering their remarkable contributions to the series and reflecting on the legacies they've left behind. Their stories continue to inspire, even years after their final curtain call. William Christopher was born on October 20, 1932, and took on the role of Father Francis Mulcahy in MASH*, in 1972, at the age of 40. Known as the camp's spiritual compass, Father Mulcahy was kind, self-effacing, and endlessly patient, a man of deep morality who brought compassion and hope to a war-torn setting. Though he acted in guest roles across television in the 60s and 70s, none brought him significant acclaim, and after MASH*, his career waned considerably. He struggled to find work that allowed him to escape the shadow of the gentle priest, often turning down offers that mocked the seriousness of his character. His personal life, though seemingly stable, was rife with hidden pain. He married Barbara O'Connor, and together they adopted 2 sons, one of whom, Ned, was diagnosed with autism at a time when few understood it. The stress of raising a child with special needs in an era lacking support systems quietly wore down their marriage. Although they did not divorce, their relationship was distant, strained by exhaustion and unspoken sorrow. Christopher also battled lifelong anxiety, which intensified in the later years when roles stopped coming and money began to thin out. He spent his final years quietly, burdened by guilt that he had not provided enough for his family and by the isolating fear. He passed away on December 31, 2016, at the age of 84, from small cell carcinoma. David Ogden Stiers was born on October 31, 1942, and began playing Major Charles Winchester in MASH*, in 1977 when he was 35 years old. His portrayal of the elitist yet deeply skilled surgeon introduced a character who was arrogant, sophisticated, and eventually redeemable. In real life, Stiers shared his character's intellect but not his confidence. For much of his life, he concealed his homosexuality, fearing it would derail his career in an unforgiving industry. Though he found success in voice acting, particularly with Disney's Beauty and the Beast and Pocahontas, he often felt typecast, relegated to roles that never fully showcased his range. He never married and had no children, a decision born partly from fear and partly from the loneliness he carried from childhood, having grown up in a household marked by emotional coldness and detachment. He came out publicly as gay in 2009, well into his 60s, revealing the inner torment of hiding his true self for decades. His final years were spent in Newport, Oregon, far from Hollywood's glare, where he lived in seclusion, quietly battling bladder cancer. The illness consumed him physically, but even more so, the regret that he had lived so long in fear haunted him. On March 3, 2018, he died at the age of 75, alone and largely forgotten by an industry he had once tried so hard to impress. Harry Morgan, born April 10, 1915, stepped into the role of Colonel Sherman T. Potter in MASH*, in 1974 at the age of 59. As the no-nonsense yet deeply empathetic commanding officer, Potter became a father figure to the entire unit, exuding wisdom earned through years of service. But Morgan's real-life experiences bore heavy scars. His decades-long acting career had included over 100 films and TV roles, yet recognition eluded him until MASH star. By then, however, the strain of decades in Hollywood had taken its toll. Behind his bright smile hid a man plagued by alcoholism, a disease he battled quietly through much of his early career. Morgan married Eileen Saki in 1940, and while the marriage lasted until her death, it was not without turmoil. His drinking and long absences led to frequent emotional outbursts and periods of estrangement from his 4 sons. The death of one of his sons in middle age due to a drug overdose devastated Morgan, and he blamed himself relentlessly. He tried to atone through charity work and veteran support, but privately wrestled with depression. Following Eileen's death, he remarried, but by then he had grown emotionally detached. His final years were spent in increasing solitude, his sharp mind dimmed by age and regret. On December 7, 2011, Harry Morgan died from pneumonia at the age of 96. Larry Lynville was born on September 29, 1939, and began his role as Major Frank Burns in 1972 at the age of 33. His portrayal of the uptight, mean-spirited surgeon was both hilarious and tragic, a caricature of military incompetence and emotional fragility. Yet Lynville's personal life mirrored much of that turmoil. Despite the comedic nature of his character, Lynville found himself pigeonholed after MASH*, unable to escape the role that had made him famous but had also robbed him of artistic growth. He was married 5 times, each relationship ending in painful separation. His most heartbreaking divorce was from Deborah Guidon, the mother of his only daughter, Kelly. The dissolution of that marriage sent him into a deep depression, compounded by the fact that his daughter lived most of her life estranged from him. Professionally, Lynville's post-MASH* work was meager, guest spots on forgettable sitcoms, minor film roles, and voiceovers that left him creatively hollow. He battled chronic health problems for much of his life, including heart issues and lung complications. Emotionally, he was tormented by the perception that he was a joke actor, a caricature, never taken seriously. His final years were a blur of hospital stays and lonely evenings, haunted by what could have been. On April 10, 2000, Larry Lynville died at 60 from complications of pneumonia after a prolonged battle with cancer. Wayne Rogers, born on April 7, 1933, portrayed Captain Trapper John McIntyre in MASH*, starting in 1972 at the age of 39. He quickly became known for his sharp wit, relentless sense of humor, and mischievous antics that made his character a fan favorite. Trapper John was the kind of doctor who preferred to relieve the stress of war with humor and pranks, often balancing his bond with Hawkeye with a dose of rebellion against authority. Despite this camaraderie, Rogers' own personal life was less carefree. His career flourished, but his personal life was turbulent. He married twice, first to actress Leora Rogers from 1957 to 1966, and later to a second wife, who he divorced after a few years of strained marital bliss. Rogers had no children, and though he longed for the same easygoing relationship he portrayed on screen, his personal life seemed to echo the tragic complexities of the characters he played: loneliness, frustration, and a series of disappointing marriages. These struggles followed him even in his later years, as his health began to decline. Despite his success on MASH*, Rogers' life off-screen was marked by financial setbacks, strained relationships, and a lack of the close-knit happiness he seemed to exude in his role. His death on December 31, 2015 at the age of 82, from pneumonia complications, was a quiet end to a man who had spent a life making others laugh. McClean Stevenson, born on November 14, 1927, played Lieutenant Colonel Henry Blake from 1972. At 45, Stevenson embodied the warm, bumbling, but lovable commanding officer whose love for his men was evident even in his mistakes. Yet, off-screen, Stevenson's life was far less joyful. Though he found success on MASH*, Stevenson's career was filled with both successes and crushing setbacks. His departure from MASH*, after 3 seasons, due to creative differences over his character's development, was not just a professional challenge but also a personal heartbreak. The public largely adored his portrayal, but he struggled to find similar success in his career afterward. His personal life mirrored the unpredictability of his acting roles. He married twice, first to actress Ginny McSwain in 1954, but the marriage dissolved. He later married again in 1980, though both relationships ended in separation. His life was haunted by emotional distance and struggles with his professional identity. Stevenson's final years were marked by deteriorating health and depression, and his sudden death from a heart attack on February 15, 1996 at 68 left many who knew him devastated. Though he had found his place in the spotlight, Stevenson's final days were filled with regret, loneliness, and a longing for the companionship and stability that he had never quite been able to secure. Alan Arbus, born on February 15, 1918, portrayed Major Sidney Friedman on MASH starting in 1973 at the age of 55. His character, the psychiatrist, became one of the most enduring figures on the show, beloved for his serene wisdom and ability to bring emotional balance to the chaotic environment of the MASH unit. His role was marked by a quiet strength, a source of calm amidst the constant trauma, and he became the voice of reason for the troubled staff. Arbus's career, however, was not without its struggles. Though MASH was a milestone in his career, Arbus faced personal tragedies that shadowed his success. His marriage to famed photographer Diane Arbus ended in divorce, which reportedly left him devastated. The separation affected both his personal and professional life deeply, but despite this turmoil, he continued to bring depth and authenticity to his roles, both in television and film. In later years, Arbus experienced profound personal loss, including the deaths of close friends and family, leading to a life marked by emotional solitude. His personal struggles and the weight of the past seemed to linger with him as he quietly withdrew from the limelight in his later years. Alan Arbus passed away on April 19, 2013, at the age of 95 from congestive heart failure, but his personal battles were felt long before his death. Judy Ferrell, born on May 11, 1938, played Nurse Abel on MASH starting in 1976, when she was 36 years old. Her character, a capable and compassionate nurse, was often seen providing support and care to the wounded soldiers, embodying the resilience of those who worked on the front lines. Yet, Ferrell's life off-screen was not as simple as her on-screen persona. While she found success as an actress, her personal life was filled with its own set of challenges. Her marriage to actor Mike Farrell, who played B.J. Honeycutt on MASH ended in divorce after several years, and the emotional toll of this separation took a significant strain on her. Farrell's difficulties with her own family and personal relationships added to the weight of her struggles, and she found herself isolated in the midst of a career that was often overshadowed by others' successes. In her later years, Farrell faced the devastating effects of Alzheimer's disease, a tragic affliction that gradually took away her memories and identity. She passed away on April 2, 2023, at the age of 84 from complications related to the disease. Her final years were marked by an immense sense of loss, both personally and professionally, as she faded from the world she had once known so well. Kelly Nakahara, born January 16, 1948, began her portrayal of Lieutenant Kelly Yamato in 1973 at the age of 25. As the cheerful and affectionate nurse, she brought life and warmth to the screen, often in the background but never unnoticed. However, in reality, Nakahara's path in Hollywood was cruelly narrow. As an Asian American actress, she was constantly overlooked for major roles and often cast in stereotypical parts that left her feeling invisible. Her role in MASH brought hope, but that hope was short-lived. After the series ended, her career all but stalled, with minor appearances doing little to fulfill her aspirations. She married David Wallet and had 2 children, William and Nalani, but fame did not insulate her from racial prejudice that seeped into both her professional and personal life. The family faced threats when living in predominantly white neighborhoods, and her children were bullied for their heritage. Nakahara's identity as both a mother and actress was often torn between protecting her children and chasing a dream that Hollywood never fully embraced. As the years passed, she turned to watercolor painting for solace, retreating from an industry that had never truly welcomed her. In her last years, cancer ravaged her body and she kept the diagnosis private, refusing to burden her loved ones. On February 16, 2020, she passed away at the age of 72 from cancer. Patricia Stevens, born on September 16, 1945, portrayed Lieutenant Baker, RN, starting in 1974 at the age of 29. In her role, she brought a quiet strength and diligence to the medical staff, a woman who worked tirelessly to care for the wounded and manage the chaos of war. Yet, for Stevens, the work on MASH** was a brief highlight in a career that never truly took off. Despite being a talented actress, Stevens struggled with typecasting and a lack of significant roles post-MASH star. Her personal life was fraught with emotional struggles, particularly within her marriage to actor Paul K. Lammers. The couple's union was marked by periods of emotional neglect and distance, leaving Stevens lonely despite her public persona. The marriage eventually ended in divorce, and Stevens faced the difficulty of raising children alone. Later, she was diagnosed with breast cancer, a battle that became the defining struggle of her life. Stevens continued to work and care for her family even as her health worsened, but the disease ultimately claimed her on May 26, 2010 at the age of 64. Her passing was the painful end of a woman who, despite her on-screen strength, was left weakened by personal and health battles that she could never fully overcome. Johnny Hamer, born on January 26, 1920, portrayed Sergeant Zelmo Zale from 1974. At the age of 54, he became a familiar face as the grumpy yet dedicated supply sergeant in MASH**, known for his contentious relationship with Klinger and his endless frustration with the absurdity of military life. Yet Hamer's portrayal of Zale, while full of humor, stood in stark contrast to the personal struggles he faced behind closed doors. His career trajectory was far from easy. Hamer worked tirelessly, appearing in countless small roles before MASH*, and he never reached the widespread recognition of his co-stars. His personal life was filled with heartbreak. He married once, but the relationship fell apart under the pressure of his heavy work schedule and his increasing emotional detachment. Hamer, who had no children, found solace in his work but struggled with the intense loneliness that came with it. His health began to fail him as he aged, and he was eventually diagnosed with cancer, a battle that he fought fiercely but ultimately lost. Johnny Hamer's death on November 18, 1989 at the age of 69 marked the tragic end of a man who had dedicated his life to entertainment yet had little to show for it in his final years, grieving the loss of opportunities, family, and his own health. Roy Goldman, born on June 13, 1932, appeared as the dependable corpsman in MASH*, starting in 1973 at the age of 41. His recurring role, while not as prominent as others, highlighted his essential contribution to the team, a man who worked behind the scenes, providing much-needed assistance during the chaos of war. In his career, Goldman was often overshadowed by bigger names, but it was his consistency and commitment that earned him the respect of fans and colleagues alike. His personal life, however, was deeply marred by personal loss and struggles with health. Goldman married, but the relationship was fraught with turmoil and eventually ended in divorce. His first wife, with whom he had 2 children, reportedly struggled with his absence due to his demanding career. His subsequent relationships were similarly troubled, filled with unspoken resentments and emotional disconnect. While Goldman appeared as a stable figure on screen, his real-life battles were anything but. In his later years, Goldman was diagnosed with multiple myeloma, a battle that drained his vitality and left him weakened physically and emotionally. Despite this, he continued working until his death, which came on September 1, 2009 at the age of 77. Goldman passed away surrounded by family, but the disease had robbed him of many of his passions and left a deep emotional wound that never fully healed. John Orchard, born on November 15, 1928, was 44 when he first appeared on MASH*, as Captain Ugly John Black in 1972. A laid-back Australian anesthetist with a great sense of humor, his character quickly became a fan favorite, known for his wit and calm demeanor in the operating room. However, behind the scenes, Orchard's life was far from as cheerful as his characters. While his career was marked by notable roles in film and television, including MASH*, he struggled with personal demons that often made it difficult for him to enjoy the success he earned. Orchard's marriage was fraught with challenges, and he faced deep personal pain from family issues that led to a sense of emotional instability. His difficult relationships, combined with a history of health problems, took a toll on his well-being. Despite his outward success and recognition for his role in MASH*, Orchard grappled with feelings of isolation and despair that haunted him throughout his life. Tragically, his health deteriorated rapidly, and on November 3, 1995, at the age of 66, Orchard died from emphysema, a condition that had worsened in the years following his career's peak. His later years were filled with physical suffering, an ironic contrast to the lighthearted persona he portrayed on screen, and his death marked the loss of a talented actor who never fully found peace in his personal life. Eileen Saki, born on June 18, 1943, joined MASH*, in 1976 as Rosie, the tough but caring owner of Rosie's Bar, known for her no-nonsense attitude and supportive nature toward the camp's personnel. At the age of 33, Saki brought depth to her character, adding a layer of warmth to the otherwise chaotic environment of the MAS*H unit. However, Saki's life was marked by profound struggles that were far more complex than the characters she portrayed. Her personal life was riddled with turmoil, including difficult relationships that affected her emotional well-being. Her marriage was short-lived, and she found herself facing the challenges of single motherhood while also dealing with the heartbreak of estrangement from family members. These personal battles were compounded by the stress of her acting career, where she struggled to land roles that truly reflected her talents. Despite these setbacks, Saki persevered, though her emotional scars ran deep, often overshadowing her public persona. In her later years, Saki faced a long and painful battle with pancreatic cancer, a cruel disease that consumed her energy and spirit. She passed away on May 1, 2023, at the age of 79, leaving behind a legacy of resilience in the face of adversity, but her personal pain was never far behind. Richard Lee-sung, born on August 14, 1930, began his role as second Korean Kim Luke on MASH*, in 1974 at the age of 44. His portrayal of the local Korean character, often caught in the confusion of camp activities, was marked by its subtle humor and warmth. His character became a poignant figure amidst the chaos of war, reflecting the challenges faced by locals in a world torn apart by conflict. Lee-sung's career, though steady, was marred by personal loss and hardship. After years of acting, he found himself in a constant struggle with his identity, feeling increasingly disconnected from his heritage and the roles he was cast in. He endured the pain of living far from his family, who were scattered across different parts of the world, and faced the emotional strain of being separated from loved ones. His later years were spent in relative obscurity, living in the shadow of a successful role that never led to the broader fame he had hoped for. In his final years, Lee-sung faced health complications that worsened as time went on, and he passed away on August 16, 2022, at the age of 91 from natural causes. His death was a quiet end to a life marked by internal struggles and the harsh realities of being an immigrant actor in Hollywood, often caught between his personal identity and the roles he played. Who is your favorite character in MAS**H? How do you feel knowing that the actors have passed away? Feel free to leave your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this content, don't forget to like, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell so you don't miss future videos. Thank you so much.